It started with a leak one quiet morning, when a single PDF file appeared on an anonymous forum, titled Only the Washington Files. Within hours, screenshots were everywhere. The document bore Jasmine Washington's name, but what it contained had the entire love and hip-hop world spinning out of control. Fans didn't even know what to believe. Some swore it was fake, others said it matched old VH1 contracts. And then came the part that froze everyone mid-scroll: Kirk Frost's handwritten confession. Attached at the bottom, signed and dated. In the reality TV universe where rumors breathe faster than facts, this wasn't just another scandal, it was an earthquake. The same Kirk who had spent years denying, deflecting, and publicly rebuilding his marriage to Rashida was now tied to a document that turned everything upside down. The tone of the letter wasn't defensive. It wasn't even apologetic. It read like a man ready to empty every hidden truth that had haunted him since 2017. Jas wasn't lying. One line said, "I was scared of losing everything, my family, my business, my name, so I chose to lie." By mid-morning, social media was awash. Screenshots of the alleged confession circulated through fan pages, gossip blogs, and even old cast members' group chats. Ariane Davis went live on Instagram saying she had seen something like it before. Carly Red hinted that she had been told years ago that Kirk kept files on his phone in case things ever blew up again. And then, Rashida, usually calm, poised, and calculated, posted a single emoji on her story: the broken heart. No caption, no explanation, just silence that spoke louder than any words she could have typed. Comment sections exploded. Fans dissected every sentence of the leaked letter, zoomed in on handwriting comparisons, and debated whether Kirk had finally admitted what Jasmine had been trying to prove for years, that their child wasn't a rumor, but a reality he tried to bury. The emotional tension reached a fever pitch. One fan wrote, "This ain't just about cheating. This is about a woman who's been gaslit for almost a decade." Another replied, "Nah, this gotta be a setup. Kirk too cold to just confess like that." But things got darker when someone noticed a timestamp in the metadata of the leaked file. It wasn't old. It was recent, uploaded only a few weeks ago. That detail alone flipped the story from past drama to present danger. Why was Kirk writing confessions again? And to whom was he sending them? Theories spread faster than wildfire. Some claimed Mona Scott had orchestrated the leak for an upcoming VH1 reboot. Others whispered that Jasmine herself had held onto the document, waiting for the right time to remind the world of what really happened behind the Frost family's closed doors. And as bloggers scrambled for verification, insiders said this wasn't even the full file, that more pages existed, sealed under Jasmine's name, waiting to be released. Whatever the truth was, one thing had become certain by sunset: this wasn't just another messy storyline. This was the return of the one scandal Kirk Frost swore would never resurface. And now that it had, there was no going back. The moment that document hit the blogs, Atlanta felt like it stopped breathing. Jasmine Washington hadn't said a single word publicly, but her silence spoke louder than anything Kirk or Rashida had ever tried to explain. She was seen walking out of a lawyer's office 2 days before the leak, dressed in black with dark glasses on, refusing to look at the cameras. One paparazzi yelled out, "Jasmine, is the confession real?" And she didn't even flinch. She just got into her car, shut the door, and drove off. Within minutes, that clip hit every gossip page online. Fans went wild, claiming her silence was her confirmation. By the evening, Kirk was nowhere to be found. His usual Instagram stories were gone. No studio updates, no restaurant promotions, no cryptic Bible quotes. Nothing. People close to him said he had gone completely off the grid. But one insider, someone who used to work with Rashida's boutique, told a gossip blogger that Kirk had been acting strange for weeks. They said he was constantly checking old text threads, deleting photos, and once even asked how to irasidi. That tiny piece of information blew the story wide open, because suddenly everyone wondered, had Kirk written that confession recently to cover up something new? Rashida, on the other hand, was putting on a brave face. She appeared at a local event that night, dressed flawless as ever, smiling for the cameras. But anyone who's followed her for years could tell the smile wasn't real. When a reporter asked about the leaked document, she gave a tight smile and said, "People will do anything for attention." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, and fans noticed. Someone even slowed down the footage and swore you could see tears welling up before she looked away. That night, Love and Hip Hop alumni flooded the internet. Carly Red posted a cryptic video with the caption, "Karma don't miss." Erica Mena commented under a fan post, "Told y'all years ago." And Mimi Faust tweeted, "Some truths can't stay buried forever." The cast didn't need to name names. Everyone knew exactly what they were talking about. Then came the biggest twist of the night. A blog claimed they had received the full version of Kirk's letter, the uncut confession. They posted a small snippet before allegedly being threatened with legal action. That single paragraph sent the internet spiraling. It read, "If this ever comes out, it's not just about Jasmine. There are others who know, others who helped me keep this quiet, and they'll go down with me." The use of the word others made everyone speculate who he meant. Names started flying: producers, managers, even castmates. Fans began dissecting old love and hip-hop episodes like detectives, connecting every awkward glance and sudden storyline cut. Overnight, the narrative shifted from a cheating scandal to something bigger: a possible cover-up. Theories piled up. Some believed Kirk had paid off Jasmine years ago under VH1's table. Others said Jasmine was pressured to stay silent by executives who didn't want the show's family image ruined. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was turning into a full-blown media storm. The next morning, a radio show in Atlanta claimed they had received a voicemail recording allegedly featuring Kirk's voice. The man in the clip sounded tense, whispering, "It's out. I told them not to post that file. I thought she destroyed it." The hosts played it 3 times live on air, and by noon, half the internet believed it was Kirk. The other half thought it was AI. But the damage was done. The sound of his voice saying those words gave the leak new life. Rashida reportedly left the couple's home that same afternoon. Neighbors said movers showed up quietly, loading boxes into an SUV. One of them claimed to hear her crying on the phone, saying, "I can't do this again. Not this time." She didn't post, didn't tweet, didn't show up at her boutique. The woman known for holding it all together had finally cracked, and the world was watching. Meanwhile, Jasmine was seen again, this time, smiling slightly as she picked up her son from school. It was subtle, but the image said everything. Fans captioned it with comments like "she finally got her piece and the truth set her free." But not everyone believed it. Kirk's supporters started defending him online, calling the document fake news, AI-generated, and a setup by producers. The fan war split down the middle, tearing the LHH community apart. Even celebrity blogs started taking sides. Things got darker when an old VH1 intern came forward anonymously. She claimed that back in 2018, she had seen Jasmine in the studio with Kirk and 2 producers late at night. She said Jasmine looked upset, like she was being convinced of something. She kept saying she wanted her name cleared, the intern recalled, and Kirk kept saying, "You'll regret this if you don't listen." That single quote went viral within minutes, fueling the narrative that Jasmine had been silenced. The tension reached its peak when a second document leaked: a typed memo with VH1's header, allegedly from a producer warning staff not to comment or repost any content involving the Frost Washington case. The memo looked official, watermarked and dated only days before the confession surfaced. That made it clear to fans that VH1 was aware of the situation before the public even found out. Social media lit up with hashtags like #KirkConfession, #JusticeForJasmine, and #ProtectRasheeda. Talk shows dissected it frame by frame, influencers recreated dramatic readings of the leaked letter, and old cast members started teasing exclusive interviews. It had become more than gossip, it was entertainment chaos at its peak. But the real explosion came that Friday night, when Jasmine's close friend went live on Instagram and claimed the leak wasn't an accident. She said Jasmine had been holding on to the document for years and that Kirk himself had reached out recently, asking to make things right privately. Apparently, that conversation didn't go well. Jasmine allegedly told him, "You had your chance to tell the truth. Now everyone gets to hear it." The live ended abruptly, but it was too late. Clips of her words spread across every corner of the internet, sparking one question that echoed louder than all the noise: what exactly was Kirk trying to make right? And why now? Hours later, bloggers began noticing something strange. Kirk's business website had gone offline. The Frost family's restaurant page redirected to a temporary maintenance message. Rashida's boutique page showed under update. 2 fans. That looked like a digital cleanup, a scramble to control the fallout. But to others, it was proof that something far more serious was going on behind the scenes. Late that night, a well-known gossip blogger posted a tweet that sent everyone into a frenzy. "I've seen the rest of the file. What y'all think was just cheating? Nah, there's money involved. Big money." Within minutes, the tweet had thousands of likes and shares. People started connecting dots: Stax records, brand deals, unreported partnerships. Suddenly, Kirk's confession didn't sound like guilt over an affair. It sounded like guilt over a secret financial scandal tied to Jasmine's silence. By midnight, Atlanta was buzzing again. Radio hosts were speculating, Fans were demanding statements, and everyone was refreshing Jasmine's page for a response. But Jasmine didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The silence, once again, was deafening, and Kirk's world was slowly collapsing under it. By Saturday morning, the energy in Atlanta had shifted completely. People weren't talking about Kirk as a husband anymore. They were talking about him as a businessman who might have been running something shady behind the cameras. The confession wasn't just about Jasmine, it hinted at transactions and people who knew. Words that made everyone suspect money laundering, fake investments, or hush payments. News outlets that never touched love and hip-hop gossip before were suddenly running stories, labeling it a developing scandal involving former VH1 talent. Kirk's name was trending next to politicians and rappers, and for the first time in his long career, no one could spin the narrative in his favor. Rashida stayed silent, but fans noticed she had unfollowed Kirk on Instagram. That alone sent shockwaves. It was the digital equivalent of a public divorce. The boutique's staff started posting cryptic quotes on their stories, like sometimes peace is better than pride, and when loyalty becomes one-sided, it's time to walk away. Everyone knew who those were aimed at. Then came a new twist that no one expected. A former VH1 producer, who went by the name M, came forward in a voice interview with a small podcast. The producer claimed that years ago, Jasmine had recorded a private conversation between her and Kirk as insurance. She said she didn't trust him anymore, the producer revealed, so she kept evidence, not just text-actual audio. The podcast host asked if that recording still existed, and the producer laughed. If you've seen that document, then you already know she kept copies. Jasmine's not dumb. That single sentence reignited everything. Fans began tagging Jasmine nonstop, begging her to release the alleged tape. Hashtags like #drop the audio and #Jasmine got receipts started trending overnight. Bloggers speculated about the file's contents. Some claimed it was Kirk admitting to forging contracts under Rashida's business name. Others said it was him negotiating hush money payments. No one had proof, but the imagination of social media didn't need it. Meanwhile, Kirk finally resurfaced online after 3 days of silence. He went live from what looked like a hotel room, wearing a hoodie and looking exhausted. His voice was shaky, his tone defensive. "Stop believing everything y'all see," he said. "People out here trying to ruin families for views." But halfway through the live, he slipped. That letter wasn't supposed to get out, he muttered under his breath, then immediately ended the stream. Within seconds, fans clipped that part and spread it everywhere. The comments section filled with reactions like, "So you admit it's real, and that's your confession right there." After the live, Rashida's sister went online defending her. "My sister been through hell and back for that man," she said, holding back tears. "If this is true, I hope she finally chooses herself." Fans flooded her comments with heart emojis and messages of support. Everyone was rallying behind Rashida now, painting her as the victim of Kirk's endless deception. But Jasmine wasn't off the hook either. Some fans began accusing her of waiting too long to release the document. One popular blogger said, "She's milking this for fame. If it was really about truth, why leak it now?" Others defended her, arguing she had every right to protect herself after years of public humiliation. The fan base split once again, half calling her brave, half calling her manipulative. As if that wasn't enough, a new leak dropped late Sunday night, this time a series of bank statements allegedly tied to Kirk's company. They showed several payments marked as consulting fees to a woman with initials matching Jasmine's. The total amount exceeded $120,000 spread over a few years. Bloggers connected the dots instantly. One caption read, "This wasn't love, this was payoff." Rashida's reaction came the next morning in the form of a single post, a video of her walking into her boutique, chin high, with the caption, "Still standing." The clip went viral instantly. Fans flooded it with supportive comments, calling her queen energy and the definition of grace under pressure. But behind that calm image, insiders said she was struggling privately. A friend close to her told a gossip channel, "She feels betrayed all over again. This time it's not just the cheating nits, the lies stacked on top of lies." Jasmine, however, stayed silent, but her silence didn't last long. By midweek, a new Instagram account appeared under the name Washington. It posted a single blurred photo of a document stamped confidential and captioned, "Part 2. The internet lost its mind. Theories erupted. Some said Jasmine was finally dropping the second half of Kirk's confession. Others said it was just a fan hoax. But then the account posted a short clip of distorted audio of a man's voice saying, "They told me to write it, to make it sound like closure." Within minutes, Kirk's lawyer issued a public statement calling the leaks malicious fabrications intended to damage Mr. Frost's reputation. But it was too late. The audio had already been shared by thousands of fans, and no one believed the denial. The damage was irreversible. Meanwhile, VH1 executives were panicking behind the scenes. An entertainment reporter claimed producers had been holding crisis meetings about whether to address the scandal or ignore it completely. One leaked email, allegedly from a production assistant, read, "Mona doesn't want to touch it unless we can spin it into a special." That comment sent fans into outrage, accusing the network of exploiting real pain for ratings. The pressure kept mounting. Kirk was reportedly served with legal papers by Jasmine's attorney, demanding retroactive compensation for emotional distress and breach of a private agreement. The lawsuit hinted that Jasmine had signed something years ago, which Kirk allegedly violated when he tried to contact her recently. The case details were sealed, but fans didn't need the paperwork to know the situation was spiraling fast. Rumors spread that Rashida had met with her own lawyer as well, not just for marital reasons but for business separation. Their joint ventures, restaurants, boutiques, endorsements were reportedly being reviewed. People who had always seen them as Atlanta's power couple were now watching their empire crumble in real time. Then came the moment no one saw coming. Jasmine's Washington Files account posted a teaser, a black screen with text reading, "You thought the document was bad. Wait until you hear what he said about her." The internet exploded again. Comments flooded in from fans begging her not to release anything that could destroy families, while others cheered her on to expose every last lie. By Thursday night, the countdown had begun. Jasmine pinned a post saying midnight. The entire fan base was awake, refreshing her page. Gossip channels hosted live streams reacting in real time. People were calling it the love and hip-hop apocalypse. When the clock struck 12, the post finally appeared, a 2-minute audio clip, grainy but clear enough. Kirk's voice could be heard saying, "Rashida knew more than she let on. We both had to protect the brand." The internet froze. Within seconds, people were posting reactions, crying, arguing, and screaming. It wasn't just Kirk anymore, it was Rashida too. The confession had turned into something bigger than anyone imagined. By morning, the hashtag #ProtectRasheeda flipped into hashtag expose the brand. Fans felt betrayed, not by Kirk's lies, but by the idea that the perfect couple image had been carefully crafted and sold for years. Every headline screamed chaos. Every talk show wanted Jasmine. Every blogger wanted proof. And as the fire grew hotter, Kirk and Rashida's silence became the loudest noise of all. By Friday morning, the streets of Atlanta were buzzing again, but this time it wasn't excitement, it was disbelief. People gathered outside Frost Bistro, some just to see if the couple would show up, others to film it for their channels. Reporters stood outside with cameras ready, waiting for a glimpse of either Kirk or Rashida, but neither appeared. Inside sources claimed the restaurant had closed early the night before after the midnight audio drop, with staff told not to speak to the press. Someone leaked a text from a manager saying, "Keep the doors locked. They're coming for statements." The damage was out of control. That 2-minute audio had changed everything. Kirk's calm but exhausted tone, confessing that Rashida knew more than she let on, had sent shockwaves across the entertainment world. Fans felt betrayed not just by him, but by the entire narrative they had followed for years. For the first time, Rashida's reputation as the faithful, forgiving wife was in question. People started replaying old episodes, noting scenes where she avoided questions, changed subjects, or forced a smile. They were convinced the truth had always been hiding in plain sight. Then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife deeper, Jasmine's Washington Files account dropped a second post, a screenshot of an email allegedly from Kirk to a VH1 executive, dated during the original cheating scandal years ago. The email read, "We'll handle it in storyline form. Just make sure it looks clean. She'll play along if it protects the brand." Fans were stunned. If the email was real, it meant the entire scandal had been manufactured, rehearsed, and monetized. Every tear, every apology, every reunion scene scripted for ratings. By noon, entertainment news outlets had picked up the story. One headline read, "Reality show, real lies, the Frost brand under fire." The article included statements from former crew members, claiming that Kirk and Rashida often approved edits before episodes aired. One former assistant even said, "They wanted to look like survivors, not manipulators." It was their image. Rashida finally broke her silence that evening with a video post. She sat alone in her boutique, her voice calm but trembling. "I'm tired of the lies," she said. "Tired of people thinking they know my marriage. Tired of people playing with my family's name for clicks. "There's things y'all will never understand, and I'm not explaining them anymore." Her eyes looked glassy, but she didn't cry. She ended the video by saying, "The truth ain't always clean, but at least I still got my piece." The comments section exploded. Half the fans praised her strength, the other half accused her of damage control. While the internet debated her statement, Jasmine quietly deleted the Washington Files account. No explanation, no farewell post, nothing. It was gone. Her main account stayed silent, and within hours, conspiracy theories flooded in. Some said VH1 had paid her off. Others believed she was being threatened legally. A few even speculated that Rashida and Jasmine had met privately to end this once and for all. The silence from both women only made the theories grow louder. But Kirk couldn't stay quiet for long. That Sunday, a blurry video surfaced showing him arguing outside a parking lot with a man believed to be a former producer. In the clip, Kirk's voice could be heard yelling, "You said you deleted that file." Before storming off, the man shouted back, "You should have kept your mouth shut." That video spread faster than any official statement. Blogs reposted it, captions screamed it's real, and fans went into full meltdown mode. By now, the scandal had moved beyond gossip, was affecting business. Kirk's brand deals were quietly dissolving. One sneaker company removed his collaboration line overnight. The Frost Bistro's reservation site went down again. Rashida's fashion brand stopped posting promotions. Insiders said sponsors wanted distance until the situation cleared up. But nothing was clearing up, it was only getting worse. Then came the legal bombshell. TMZ broke the story that Jasmine's attorney had officially filed an intent to sue notice against Kirk for psychological distress and financial misconduct. The report included a vague mention of contract manipulation involving entertainment funds. That phrasing alone set off 1,000 theories. Fans connected it to the mysterious $120,000 in payments and to Kirk's confession line about others who helped me keep this quiet. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, was Jasmine really a victim or a partner in the cover-up? That same day, a former VH1 editor leaked an email thread where producers allegedly discussed shaping the Frost narrative for longevity. One line read, "Viewers need to see redemption, not exposure." The editor added in their post, "They planned everything, even who cried when it was chaos." People started calling for VH1 to release statements, to which the network simply replied, "No comment." In the middle of all this, Rashida's mother, Miss Shirlene, entered the picture. She went live, furious. "I told that boy years ago to stop lying," she said. "Now look at what's happening. You can't build peace on top of secrets." Fans flooded her comments with sympathy, calling her the voice of reason. Her emotional rant went viral, and for the first time, even Kirk's defenders began backing away. Meanwhile, Jasmine resurfaced quietly in an interview with a small online outlet. Dressed in white, she looked calm but heavy-hearted. When asked if the document and confession were real, she paused, then said softly, "Everything people needed to know is already out there. I don't need to prove anything anymore." When the interviewer pressed further, asking if she regretted leaking it, she replied, "No. I regret trusting the wrong people, but I don't regret telling my truth." The interview ended with Jasmine saying one last thing that stuck in everyone's mind. "They all thought they could write my story for me. I just took the pen back." After that, Kirk disappeared again. Reports said he was in talks with lawyers to handle things privately, but another insider leaked that VH1 had suspended his participation in any upcoming projects until further notice. Rashida, meanwhile, started focusing on her boutique again, slowly returning to her routine. Fans noticed she no longer wore her wedding ring. Then, out of nowhere, a new rumor surfaced that Kirk had met privately with Mona Scott-Young, the show's executive producer. A source claimed he wanted to clarify things before a reunion special got greenlit. That detail reignited speculation about VH1's involvement. People began wondering if this entire fallout would become the storyline for a new spin-off. Blogs headlined it as the Frost redemption arc, while others called it too messy to be staged. By the end of the week, one more unexpected twist hit the internet. A fan posted what they claimed was a screenshot of Jasmine's old message to Kirk from years ago. "When the truth comes out, I hope it breaks you enough to rebuild right." It wasn't verified, but the timing, the tone, and the content matched everything happening now. That single line became a viral quote overnight, shared by thousands, used in captions, songs, and think pieces about manipulation, forgiveness, and power. And as Atlanta buzzed with rumors, the Frost household remained dark and silent. No posts, no updates, no appearances. It was as if both Kirk and Rashida had vanished into the very shadows they'd spent years trying to outrun. The document, the confession, The leaks, everything had spiraled into something no one could contain anymore. And the fans, watching every twist unfold, knew one thing for sure: this wasn't the end of the story. Not even close. Back in Atlanta, the silence between Kirk and Rashida had turned into something heavier than words. Every hour felt like a waiting room before a verdict. Producers had stopped calling. Fans were dissecting every rumor, every leaked clip, every screenshot of Kirk's supposed messages with Mona. The show's credibility was in question. But what no one knew was that the real conversation was happening behind locked studio doors. Mona Scott had arranged a private session with Kirk. No cameras, no assistants, no VH1 executives, only 2 chairs, a recorder on the table, and a folder marked Season Fallout. Kirk looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. When he sat down, Mona didn't smile. She pressed record and said, "You ready to tell the truth this time?" Kirk didn't blink. "Depends on what truth you want," he said. She opened the folder, revealing printouts of text logs, production call sheets, and hotel bookings. "This," she said, "is everything we've been trying to protect. And now that it's out, we can't lie anymore." She slid one page toward him. It was a copy of a production memo that said storyline manipulation, Jasmine Kirk exposure scene staged reveal. Kirk stared at it like it was a loaded weapon. "You know we didn't fake that," he said. Mona leaned forward. "No, you didn't fake the emotion. But we did fake the setup. You think fans will understand that?" Kirk exhaled sharply. "They won't. They'll just say I'm trash, that I sold my family for TV." Mona crossed her arms. "You didn't sell your family. You sold your silence." He looked up. "And what about you? You sold the show." For a moment, Mona's face changed. Her voice softened. "You think I don't carry that? You think I sleep fine knowing what we did to keep ratings alive?" She stood, pacing. "We built a circus, Kirk, but we didn't train the animals. We became them." Outside that room, producers were panicking. The VH1 board had called for an emergency review. Sponsors were pulling back. Blogs had picked up rumors that Kirk and Mona were planning a joint statement. Social media had turned their meeting into a frenzy of wild theories. That Kirk had proof of manipulated footage. That Mona had threatened legal action. That VH1 had destroyed evidence of mistreatment on set. Inside, the air grew thick. Kirk said, "You knew the Jasmine thing wasn't over. That's why you wanted this story. You wanted me broken enough to cry on cue." Mona didn't deny it. "Yes, because pain sells, and you were perfect television." He laughed bitterly. "Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted." She whispered, "Not anymore. Now it's eating us both." The recorder kept running. Kirk leaned forward, voice low. "So what happens now?" Mona said, "We end it before it kills what's left of us." She pulled out a flash drive. "This is every unreleased scene, every uncut confession, every moment they told me to bury." Kirk stared at it, realization dawning. "You're going to leak it." She shook her head. "No, you are." His pulse quickened. "Why me?" "Because they already made you the villain. You might as well give them the real story." Kirk stood, running his hands through his hair. "If I do this, I lose everything." Mona met his eyes. "If you don't, you lose yourself." As Kirk walked out of that room, the flash drive felt heavier than metal. He didn't go home. He didn't go to Rashida. He drove aimlessly until dawn, parked near a studio lot, and watched as VH1 trucks rolled in. He thought about the years he'd spent building a version of himself for cameras. How every fight, every tear, every scandal had been recycled for profit. But this was something else. The truth wasn't scripted anymore. It was bleeding. By morning, Mona had vanished from the VH1 offices. Her assistant quit. Her number stopped working. Kirk checked the news. Nothing yet, but whispers were spreading fast. An anonymous account had posted a cryptic message. "The truth will air itself." Kirk's hands trembled as he opened his laptop. There was an email. No sender. No subject. Just one attachment. It was the same footage he'd seen in Mona's folder. Uncut. Raw. And right before the screen faded to black, he heard Rashida's voice saying, "If the world ever sees this, they'll finally know who we really are." Kirk froze. The file wasn't just about him. It was about all of them: Rashida, Jasmine, Mona, every producer who had turned their lives into episodes. He looked at the time. The file had already started uploading. Somewhere, someone had pressed send. The video dropped at 3:07 a.m. No network watermark, no credits, no disclaimer, just 37 minutes of raw, unedited footage from the last season of Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta. Within seconds, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube exploded. Fans who had spent years watching the show for entertainment now sat frozen in shock. The first scene showed Kirk in a closed-door meeting with a producer, saying, "You told me to keep quiet about Jasmine because the real father storyline tested better." The producer nodded, unaware of the hidden camera. Another clip showed Rashida backstage crying into her phone, whispering, "They made me redo that scene 3 times, so it looked like I didn't forgive him too soon." The entire narrative they had been fed was gone, replaced by something too honest, too unpolished. By sunrise, hashtags like #VH1Lies, #Justice for RASHEEDA, and #Mona Exposed were trending worldwide. Bloggers posted reaction videos with titles like "The Truth Behind the Kirk and Jasmine Scandal Finally Revealed." People who once mocked Rashida were now apologizing in comments, realizing how much of her pain had been manufactured. Kirk's phone didn't stop buzzing. Mona's warning echoed in his mind, "You might as well give them the real story." But he hadn't leaked it. Someone else had taken that flash drive and done it first. VH1's statement came late that morning. A cold paragraph blaming a security breach, promising an internal investigation, and insisting that the integrity of our cast remains our top priority. But by then, the damage was irreversible. Advertisers withdrew. Talent contracts were suspended. Several editors went silent. The network's credibility was collapsing, live and in public. And then came the final blow. Mona Scott's name trended again when a voice recording surfaced online. An internal call between her and an unnamed executive. Her voice was calm, tired. "We pushed them too far," she said. "We turned human pain into content and called it culture." The executive replied, "We built an empire." She said, "Empires fall." Kirk sat in his kitchen that night. Lights off, TV muted. Rashida was upstairs. They hadn't spoken since the video dropped. The world outside was in chaos, but inside the house there was only quiet. He scrolled through comments, some hateful, some sympathetic, some simply confused. One fan wrote, "He's guilty, but not the way we thought." Another said, "I feel bad for them now. They were puppets, not villains." He turned off his phone and looked at the flash drive again. Still in his pocket, still warm from his hand. Around midnight, a text came from an unknown number. They know it was Mona. She's gone. He froze. Gone how? Fired. Missing. No details. Just gone. A few minutes later, his inbox filled with press requests. People wanted interviews, exclusives, podcasts. Everyone wanted the next chapter. Kirk didn't reply. Instead, he opened his notes app and typed one line. "This time, I'll tell it my way." The next morning, he went live on Instagram. No lighting, no makeup, no background music. Just Kirk, eyes tired, voice steady. "I don't know who leaked that video," he began. "But maybe it was supposed to happen. Maybe the truth was overdue." He paused, looking straight into the camera. "You saw what they did to us. What we did to each other. But the biggest lie was that we ever had control. We didn't. They wrote our lives and called it reality. Now you've seen reality." The live ended after 7 minutes, but the internet had enough material to dissect for years. Within hours, blogs uploaded replays. News anchors debated whether this marked the end of reality TV as we know it. The network suspended production indefinitely. Cast members from other franchises began speaking out, some defending Mona, others accusing the system of exploitation. Rashida eventually appeared in her own live stream a week later. She didn't mention Kirk by name. Instead, she said, "I used to think healing came after the cameras stopped rolling, but I learned healing only starts when you stop performing." Her voice cracked slightly, but she didn't cry. "I'm done letting strangers write my story." That line became a viral quote. Merch stores printed it. Fan pages turned it into slogans. Kirk watched from a distance, proud and broken at once. Months later, the network quietly deleted old episodes. Some fans tried to preserve them, but most were gone. What remained were the leaks, the confessions, and the 37 minutes that had rewritten everything. Kirk never confirmed whether he was behind it. Mona was never seen again publicly. Rumors said she left the country. Others claimed she was negotiating a tell-all documentary from a secret location. As for Rashida and Kirk, they disappeared from television. No announcements, no farewell posts, just silence. Sometimes, fans spotted them together at small events, low profile, no cameras. Whenever people asked if they'd ever return to TV, Rashida would smile faintly and say, "Some stories don't need another season." And that's how it ended the empire of love and hip-hop. Not with a finale, but with a leak. A truth too raw to edit, too real to deny. The truth didn't destroy them, it revealed them. What happened with Jasmine, Kirk, and Rashida wasn't just another scandal, it became a moment that made everyone question what was real and what was scripted. When that leaked document hit the internet, fans thought they were getting gossip. Instead, they got a mirror reflecting every hidden manipulation, every silenced conversation, and every emotion edited to fit a storyline. The people who once laughed at the drama started to feel uneasy, realizing that behind every confession and every tear there were real lives being twisted for ratings. For years, viewers saw Jasmine as the villain, Kirk as the cheater, and Rashida as the loyal wife trapped in a loop of forgiveness. But after that confession surfaced, the narrative flipped. It wasn't about infidelity anymore, it was about control, about how far production would go to keep people tuned in. And the craziest part, it worked. Millions watched, argued, and judged, all while the real story remained locked in those hidden files. Until now, when Kirk spoke on that live stream, something shifted. His voice, stripped of performance, cracked not from guilt but from exhaustion. Fans heard sincerity they hadn't before. The same man who once seemed unapologetic now sounded haunted. And Rashida's quiet strength after the fallout made people see her differently, not as a storyline character, but as a woman reclaiming her name. Jasmine's leaked document became more than evidence. It became liberation. She had been branded a liar, but that file proved she had receipts. And suddenly, the internet didn't know who to believe anymore. The drama didn't just stay online. Talk shows debated it, journalists called it a reality reckoning, and even former castmates started dropping their own truths. One said producers had fed them fake messages to read on camera. Another claimed arguments were reshot days later to heighten tension. The illusion of authenticity had cracked open, and no amount of editing could fix it. But here's the part that still leaves people speechless. Mona Scott's disappearance. Nobody knows where she went or what she's doing, but her final words, "Empires fall," echo like prophecy. Fans argue over whether she was a mastermind or a scapegoat. Maybe she leaked it herself to expose what the industry had become. Maybe she vanished because the weight of it was too heavy. Whatever the reason, her silence is louder than any statement. And then there's Kirk and Rashida. Rumors say they're rebuilding quietly, working on something independent, away from VH1 and production contracts. Others claim they're done with cameras for good, but their last public appearances told their own story. No tension, no drama, just to people who had been through fire and somehow found peace in the ashes. The fans remain divided. Some still defend Kirk, saying he was trapped in a machine that exploited his mistakes. Others can't forgive him. Some praise Jasmine for her courage. Others call her reckless. But regardless of whose side anyone's on, everyone agrees on one thing: that leaked document changed the game. It exposed the underbelly of reality TV, where truth is optional, emotions are currency, and betrayal sells better than honesty. And maybe that's why this story still lingers. Because deep down, we all played a part. We clicked, we shared, we laughed at the drama, we made it profitable. And when the curtain finally fell, we realized the show wasn't just about them, it was about us. About how much chaos we're willing to consume for entertainment. So now, as the dust settles and the cameras stop rolling, we're left with one question: was the truth worth it? Did exposing everything bring closure, or just open new wounds? That's for you to decide. Maybe Kirk's final line said it best: "You saw what they did to us. Now you've seen reality. And now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think really happened behind those closed doors? Do you believe Jasmine leaked the document herself? Or was it Mona pulling the strings one last time? Was Kirk's confession genuine, or just another layer of performance? Let your thoughts loose in the comments, because this story isn't over until you say it is. Make sure you hit that like button if you're as stunned as the rest of us. And subscribe for more breaking stories that pull back the curtain on the world of reality, fame, power, and deception. Every week, we uncover what the cameras didn't show: the hidden rivalries, the unspoken deals, the shocking twists the networks tried to bury. Turn on your notifications so you never miss the next revelation. Trust me, the next one is already brewing. Insiders are whispering about another lick one that could make this look like a warm-up. So stay ready, stay curious, and most of all, stay watching. Because in this world, nothing stays hidden forever. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones they swore were real. The fallout from Kirk's confession didn't settle overnight. Fans had spent days dissecting every word, every pause, every hesitation in the leaked audio. And the internet was a frenzy of theories, accusations, and arguments. Some defended him, saying he was trapped in a system that manipulated reality and forced people to act against their morals. Others condemned him outright, claiming he had betrayed not only Rashida but Jasmine and every fan who had trusted his image. The truth had become a weapon, and everyone wanted to wield it. Kirk himself stayed off social media, isolating in his home, replaying every moment in his mind. The confession had been honest, raw, unfiltered, but the consequences were immense. Friends called, asking how he felt, but he only replied with one word: exposed. Every knock at the door, every notification on his phone, felt like a reminder that the world was watching, judging, and waiting for him to falter again. Meanwhile, Jasmine had gone silent. The leaked document had thrust her back into the spotlight. But she didn't post, didn't respond, and didn't clarify anything publicly. Speculation ran wild. Fans theorized that she had waited for Kirk to confess so she could watch the dominoes fall before acting. Some said she had recordings of her own, some claimed she had made deals behind the scenes, and some even suggested she was orchestrating her own media comeback. The uncertainty made her more powerful than ever, a ghost in the scandal that no one could pin down. The media circus didn't stop. Entertainment channels ran 24-hour segments, replaying the confession repeatedly, pausing to analyze tone, pitch, and body language. Clips of Kirk admitting, "I knew Rashida was watching, but I couldn't stop myself," were dissected for meaning. Pundits argued whether he was genuinely remorseful or strategically presenting vulnerability. Social media erupted with debates, memes, and fan edits, all amplifying the intensity. For the first time, a confession had become content in itself, fueling conversation without any need for commentary. Rashida's response was more private, but no less potent. Insiders said she had hired a legal team not to attack Kirk, but to protect herself and her brand. Friends noticed she began distancing herself from public events, rarely posting, and avoiding interviews. Yet behind closed doors, she was strategic. She documented everything, preserving evidence of the confession and previous interactions for future reference. She wasn't ready to speak publicly yet, but every move she made signaled she was preparing for the long game. Fans speculated endlessly about what the confession truly meant. Some dissected the line, "I knew I was breaking us, but I had to speak my truth," suggesting it was more than marital conflict, it was an admission of emotional manipulation. Others focused on, "The brand had to survive," interpreting it as a critique of the industry itself. The combination of personal guilt and professional accountability created an unprecedented narrative, a reality star admitting his role in both personal and systemic deception. As the days passed, whispers of new evidence surfaced. Supposedly, a former VH1 producer had leaked additional clips showing Kirk negotiating scenes, choosing camera angles, and even scripting his confrontations with Rashida. In one uncut segment, Kirk says, "If we show the raw emotion, they'll believe it's spontaneous, even though we've done this 10 times already." These clips painted a portrait of a man caught between authenticity and performance, aware of the manipulation but participating in it regardless. Jasmine's silence remained a central element. Her absence in the conversation allowed Kirk's confession to dominate the narrative. Fans debated whether she was holding back her own revelation or simply waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Some speculated that she might release additional recordings that could completely upend the public perception of Kirk, potentially implicating VH1 executives or even Rashida. The tension was relentless. The story had no resolution, and every day brought a new rumor, a new leak, a new piece of the puzzle. Kirk's own inner turmoil was amplified by the public's reaction. Even without posting online, he couldn't escape the echo chamber of fan theories and news cycles. Every headline dissected his words. Kirk admits emotional manipulation. Confession shocks fans worldwide. Did Kirk orchestrate the chaos? It was as if the world demanded he either fall completely or rise anew, leaving no room for ambiguity. Every day, he wondered which narrative would stick and whether he would ever control the story again. His personal circle was divided. Some friends encouraged him to apologize publicly. Others warned against further statements, suggesting silence might be more strategic. Family members felt caught in the crossfire. Every interaction seemed weighted, every conversation scrutinized. The confession had ripple effects beyond entertainment. It had real emotional consequences, exposing vulnerabilities that fans, producers, and media outlets eagerly consumed. Meanwhile, VH1 executives were quietly panicking. The confession had undermined their narrative control and threatened upcoming productions. Internal emails, later leaked to bloggers, revealed a frenzy of crisis meetings. One executive reportedly wrote, "This confession is catastrophic. We need damage control before sponsors pull entirely." Another suggested that a reunion special could redirect attention, but it was clear even they feared the power of a genuine, unfiltered admission. The system designed to craft reality had been outmaneuvered by reality itself. The social media storm intensified when snippets of Kirk's confession leaked into podcasts, fan forums, and private messaging apps. Phrases like "I knew Rashida was watching" and "the brand had to survive" were repeated, dissected, and analyzed endlessly. Fans created timelines, speculation threads, and side-by-side comparisons of previous episodes, trying to reconcile what they had seen on television with what Kirk admitted privately. It became more than gossip. It was a public study of performance, truth, and the fragility of perception. Rashida's strategic patience became the counterpoint to Kirk's public exposure. She didn't make grand statements or live-stream apologies. Instead, she focused on her brand, her boutique, and her family, slowly reasserting control. Insiders said she kept a private log of Kirk's confession, documenting every detail and cross-referencing it with past episodes. She was preparing for any eventuality, whether it was legal action, media exposure, or a personal reckoning. Her calmness contrasted sharply with Kirk's visible agitation and the chaos online. Fans speculated endlessly about the implications of the confession. Could Kirk reconcile with Rashida? Would he attempt to repair his public image? Would Jasmine release her own proof? The confession had created a suspenseful limbo where no one could predict the next move. The ambiguity became addictive. People weren't just watching a reality show, they were witnessing the collapse of an illusion. The line between performance and truth blurred entirely. Weeks passed, and the discussion shifted slightly from the scandal itself to the psychology behind Kirk's confession. Media outlets and podcasts analyzed his voice, his word choice, and his emotional timing. Some experts suggested that the confession was a form of catharsis, a way for him to reconcile his guilt publicly. Others argued it was a tactical move, ensuring he controlled part of the narrative before Jasmine or VH1 could manipulate it further. The debate added layers to the story, keeping it alive far longer than any typical reality TV feud. Then came the new twist. A fan forum posted a hidden confession clip, allegedly, showing Kirk rehearsing his admission with a producer days before the leak. In the footage, he practices lines, pauses for effect, and asks, "Does this sound remorseful enough?" The internet exploded again. The debate now wasn't just about what he said, it was about whether the confession was sincere or constructed. Even in confession, the question of authenticity haunted him, a reflection of years spent performing for the cameras. The pressure began affecting Kirk personally. Friends reported that he spent long nights pacing, speaking to no one, rereading the transcript of the leaked confession repeatedly. Sometimes he would whisper, "I can't believe this is real," as if the act of admitting his mistakes had amplified them rather than alleviated them. He started avoiding public places, canceling appearances, and refusing interviews. Every step felt watched, every reaction analyzed, and every word he had spoken replayed endlessly online. Rashida observed all of this quietly. She didn't gloat, she didn't retaliate, she kept meticulous records, consulted her legal team, and focused on rebuilding her personal life and brand. Insiders said she occasionally met with Kirk in private, not for reconciliation but for clarity. Those meetings reportedly ended in tense silence, acknowledging their shared history without attempting to rewrite it. The confession had changed everything, and there was no undoing it. Jasmine's role remained mysterious. She had not posted publicly since the initial leak, but fans speculated she was compiling her own revelations. Whispers suggested she held additional recordings that could further expose Kirk, VH1 executives, or even previously unseen interactions with Rashida. The uncertainty surrounding her next move kept the story alive, as fans waited breathlessly for any sign of her return to the narrative. And yet, despite the chaos, the confession had a strange effect. It humanized Kirk. For all his mistakes, his guilt, fear, and self-awareness made him relatable. Fans debated not only his actions but his humanity. This layered response, the mixture of condemnation, empathy, and fascination, created a phenomenon where the confession became more than a scandal. It became a cultural touchstone, a study of accountability, emotion, and media manipulation in the digital age. Even months later, the leaked confession continued to dominate discussions. Clips resurfaced, reaction videos were remade, and analysts revisited the emotional beats of his admission. Social media trends indicated that confession culture had shifted, and Kirk's raw honesty had set a new precedent for reality TV stars, exposing how vulnerable even the most constructed public images could be. And through it all, Kirk remained in the background, observing, learning, and understanding the weight of truth. The confession had liberated him from the illusion of control, but it also tethered him permanently to its consequences. The world had seen him as both villain and victim, and there was no simple path forward. Every fan, every media outlet, every former cast member, and every producer had a piece of the confession in their hands, whether as audio, transcript, or memory. It wasn't just a story anymore, it was a living, breathing event that reshaped the conversation around fame, manipulation, and accountability. Kirk's words, once private, had become a lens through which the world viewed reality itself. And in that chaos, one thing remained certain. The confession didn't just change Kirk's life, it changed everything. As the weeks, interpretation, and a new layer of drama. The next chapter of this ongoing story depends on how the players choose to act, how the fans respond, and whether the truth continues to emerge. In this world, nothing stays hidden forever, and every confession leaves a permanent imprint. The weeks following Kirk's confession turned into a relentless whirlwind. Social media never slept. Every platform was alive with reactions, fan theories, and debates dissecting every nuance of his words. Snippets of the confession were replayed on loop, clips slowed down to analyze micro-expressions, and every pause, sigh, or hesitation became fuel for speculation. Fans created timelines comparing his statements to past episodes, attempting to uncover hidden truths, inconsistencies, or moments of deliberate manipulation. It was no longer just a story, it had become a public experiment in human behavior and perception. Kirk himself became a recluse, rarely venturing outside. Friends and family reported long nights spent pacing, rereading transcripts, and listening to audio of his own confession, as if trying to understand how it had spiraled so far beyond control. The mix of guilt, fear, and the realization that the confession had permanently altered his public image weighed heavily on him. Every text he sent, every call he made, was measured and calculated, knowing the world could see it at any moment. The confession, meant as an unfiltered truth, had tethered him to an unending cycle of scrutiny. Rashida, in contrast, maintained a careful composure. She limited public appearances, focused on her personal brand, and kept meticulous records of all events related to Kirk's confession. Insiders said she had every clip, every line, and every interaction documented, preparing for any eventuality. Her silence spoke volumes. It wasn't avoidance, it was strategy. Fans noticed her poise and began praising her resilience, interpreting her restraint as strength, wisdom, and control over a narrative that had tried to define her. Jasmine's role in the saga remained shrouded in mystery. Her absence in the public eye fueled endless speculation. Had she been compiling her own recordings? Was she negotiating terms for a media reveal? Or was she quietly observing, waiting for the right moment to strike? Her silence amplified her power, keeping fans on edge, dissecting every small hint for clues. She had become the ghost in the narrative, her potential moves creating suspense and anticipation with every passing day. VH1 executives were in full damage control mode. Internal emails, later leaked to online outlets, revealed frantic strategies, emergency meetings, and worried statements. One executive reportedly wrote, "The confession destabilized our entire season, and now sponsors are questioning our credibility." Another suggested quick reunion specials, selective edits, or surprise appearances to divert attention. But it was clear that Kirk's confession had undermined not just the season, but the control VH1 had over the narrative itself. The network had built empires on crafted drama, yet a single raw confession had shown how fragile the illusion truly was. As the story continued, fans analyzed every angle. Kirk's confession was repeatedly compared with old footage, behind-the-scenes clips, and previous interviews. Debates raged over whether his words were sincere or orchestrated, whether the confession was an act of remorse or a strategic move to regain public sympathy. The line between genuine emotion and performance blurred completely, leaving viewers captivated and questioning everything they had previously accepted as reality television truth. The public fascination intensified when new content emerged. Leaks suggested additional conversations between Kirk and producers, showing him rehearsing lines, debating pauses, and negotiating moments for maximum emotional impact. The footage painted a complex picture, a man aware of the cameras and manipulation, yet simultaneously caught in the emotional gravity of his own actions. This duality made him simultaneously relatable and controversial, a figure both criticized and empathized with by a global audience. Rashida continued her strategic silence, carefully choosing when and how to engage. Insiders said she occasionally met with Kirk privately, not to reconcile, but to ensure accuracy and maintain clarity for any future actions. Her calmness contrasted with the chaos surrounding Kirk, making her appear as the anchor of the narrative. Fans admired her restraint, interpreting her quiet vigilance as evidence of foresight, intelligence, and emotional strength. The confession also shifted public perception of reality TV itself. Audiences began questioning the authenticity of other shows, noticing patterns of manipulation, staged conflicts, and scripted confrontations. Kirk's admission became a lens through which fans reevaluated every interaction they had previously seen on screen. The impact of one candid confession had reshaped expectations, challenging viewers to think critically about the narratives presented to them. Months later, discussion around Kirk's confession showed no signs of fading. Podcasts dissected his phrasing, fan blogs analyzed emotional beats, and debate forums speculated endlessly about potential future revelations. The story had moved beyond entertainment, becoming a cultural case study in fame, accountability, and the ethics of reality television. It demonstrated that even carefully curated images are vulnerable to exposure, and that a single act of honesty can disrupt an entire industry. Through it all, Kirk remained introspective. He understood that while the confession revealed truth, it also exposed him to scrutiny, criticism, and speculation that would never fully fade. His friends encouraged him to embrace transparency, yet he remained cautious, realizing that every statement could be amplified and dissected. The weight of public attention had shifted from storytelling to accountability, leaving Kirk in a delicate balance between personal reflection and public expectation. Jasmine's potential next move continued to loom over the narrative. Rumors suggested she held additional recordings that could further expose or vindicate her, potentially shifting public perception again. The anticipation of her action kept the story alive, feeding fan discussions and maintaining global attention. In a way, the confession had created an ongoing saga, where each new development, leak, or rumor added layers of complexity to the unfolding drama. Fans debated not only Kirk's motivations but also the consequences of the confession on his personal life and relationships. Some viewed it as an act of courage, finally confronting years of hidden manipulation. Others saw it as reckless, a decision that irrevocably altered relationships and public perception. The dialogue created an environment where truth, performance, and intention collided, leaving viewers captivated by the human complexities at the heart of the reality TV machine. The ongoing fascination with Kirk's confession revealed a deeper cultural phenomenon. Audiences crave authenticity, vulnerability, and transparency, even when it comes at the expense of scandal. His admission had humanized him in ways that no carefully produced scene ever could, forcing fans to confront the blurred lines between character and person, performance and truth. The confession had become a mirror reflecting both the flaws of the entertainment industry and the participants' industry and the emotional reality of its participants. The saga continues to evolve, with fans watching, debating, and theorizing. Every post, comment, and article extends the reach of the confession, keeping it relevant months after the initial leak. Kirk's confession did not merely change the narrative of one show, it transformed the conversation around reality television, fame, and accountability on a global scale. And even now, as viewers, you remain part of this story. Your reactions, your opinions, your analysis fuel the ongoing life of this scandal. The confession has created an interactive narrative where every interpretation matters, and the consequences ripple far beyond the screen. The saga remains alive, vibrant, and unresolved, with new developments waiting just around the corner. And now, after everything you've seen, after every leaked conversation, every emotional confession, and every twist that left interpretation, and a new layer of drama, the next chapter of this ongoing story depends on how the players choose to act, how the fans respond, and whether the truth continues to emerge. In this world, nothing stays hidden forever, and every confession leaves a permanent imprint. The weeks following Kirk's confession turned into a relentless whirlwind. Social media never slept. Every platform was alive with reactions, fan theories, and debates dissecting every nuance of his words. Snippets of the confession were replayed on loop, clips slowed down to analyze micro-expressions, and every pause, sigh, or hesitation became fuel for speculation. Fans created timelines comparing his statements to past episodes, attempting to uncover hidden truths, inconsistencies, or moments of deliberate manipulation. It was no longer just a story, it had become a public experiment in human behavior and perception. Kirk himself became a recluse, rarely venturing outside. Friends and family reported long nights spent pacing, rereading transcripts, and listening to audio of his own confession, as if trying to understand how it had spiraled so far beyond control. The mix of guilt, fear, And the realization that the confession had permanently altered his public image weighed heavily on him. Every text he sent, every call he made, was measured and calculated, knowing the world could see it at any moment. The confession, meant as an unfiltered truth, had tethered him to an unending cycle of scrutiny. Rashida, in contrast, maintained a careful composure. She limited public appearances, focused on her personal brand, and kept meticulous records of all events related to Kirk's confession. Insiders said she had every clip, every line, and every interaction documented, preparing for any eventuality. Her silence spoke volumes. It wasn't avoidance, it was strategy. Fans noticed her poise and began praising her resilience, interpreting her restraint as strength, wisdom, and control over a narrative that had tried to define her. Jasmine's role in the saga remained shrouded in mystery. Her absence in the public eye fueled endless speculation. Had she been compiling her own recordings? Was she negotiating terms for a media reveal? Or was she quietly observing, waiting for the right moment to strike? Her silence amplified her power, keeping fans on edge, dissecting every small hint for clues. She had become the ghost in the narrative, her potential moves creating suspense and anticipation with every passing day. VH1 executives were in full damage control mode. Internal emails, later leaked to online outlets, revealed frantic strategies, emergency meetings, and worried statements. One executive reportedly wrote, "The confession destabilized our entire season, and now sponsors are questioning our credibility." Another suggested quick reunion specials, selective edits, or surprise appearances to divert attention, but it was clear that Kirk's confession had undermined not just the season, but the control VH1 had over the narrative itself. The network had built empires on crafted drama, yet a single raw confession had shown how fragile the illusion truly was. As the story continued, fans analyzed every angle. Kirk's confession was repeatedly compared with old footage, behind-the-scenes clips, and previous interviews. Debates raged over whether his words were sincere or orchestrated, whether the confession was an act of remorse or a strategic move to regain public sympathy. The line between genuine emotion and performance blurred completely, leaving viewers captivated and questioning everything they had previously accepted as reality television truth. The public fascination intensified when new content emerged. Leaks suggested additional conversations between Kirk and producers, showing him rehearsing lines, debating pauses, and negotiating moments for maximum emotional impact. The footage painted a complex picture, a man aware of the cameras and manipulation, yet simultaneously caught in the emotional gravity of his own actions. This duality made him simultaneously relatable and controversial, a figure both criticized and empathized with by a global audience. Rashida continued her strategic silence, carefully choosing when and how to engage. Insiders said she occasionally met with Kirk privately, not to reconcile, but to ensure accuracy and maintain clarity for any future actions. Her calmness contrasted with the chaos surrounding Kirk, making her appear as the anchor of the narrative. Fans admired her restraint, interpreting her quiet vigilance as evidence of foresight, intelligence, and emotional strength. The confession also shifted public perception of reality TV itself. Audiences began questioning the authenticity of other shows, noticing patterns of manipulation, staged conflicts, and scripted confrontations. Kirk's admission became a lens through which fans reevaluated every interaction they had previously seen on screen. The impact of one candid confession had reshaped expectations, challenging viewers to think critically about the narratives presented to them. Months later, discussion around Kirk's confession showed no signs of fading. Podcasts dissected his phrasing, fan blogs analyzed emotional beats, and debate forums speculated endlessly about potential future revelations. The story had moved beyond entertainment, becoming a cultural case study in fame, accountability, and the ethics of reality television. It demonstrated that even carefully curated images are vulnerable to exposure, and that a single act of honesty can disrupt an entire industry. Through it all, Kirk remained introspective. He understood that while the confession revealed truth, it also exposed him to scrutiny, criticism, and speculation that would never fully fade. His friends encouraged him to embrace transparency, yet he remained cautious, realizing that every statement could be amplified and dissected. The weight of public attention had shifted from storytelling to accountability, leaving Kirk in a delicate balance between personal reflection and public expectation. Jasmine's potential next move continued to loom over the narrative. Rumors suggested she held additional recordings that could further expose or vindicate her, potentially shifting public perception again. The anticipation of her action kept the story alive, feeding fan discussions and maintaining global attention. In a way, the confession had created an ongoing saga, where each new development, leak, or rumor added layers of complexity to the unfolding drama. Fans debated not only Kirk's motivations but also the consequences of the confession on his personal life and relationships. Some viewed it as an act of courage, finally confronting years of hidden manipulation. Others saw it as reckless, a decision that irrevocably altered relationships and public perception. The dialogue created an environment where truth, performance, and intention collided, leaving viewers captivated by the human complexities at the heart of the reality TV machine. The ongoing fascination with Kirk's confession revealed a deeper cultural phenomenon. Audiences crave authenticity, vulnerability, and transparency, even when it comes at the expense of scandal. His admission had humanized him in ways that no carefully produced scene ever could, forcing fans to confront the blurred lines between character and person, performance and truth. The confession had become a mirror reflecting both the flaws of the entertainment industry and the participants' industry and the emotional reality of its participants. The saga continues to evolve, with fans watching, debating, and theorizing. Every post, comment, and article extends the reach of the confession, keeping it relevant months after the initial leak. Kirk's confession did not merely change the narrative of one show, it transformed the conversation around reality television, fame, and accountability on a global scale. And even now, as viewers, you remain part of this story. Your reactions, your opinions, your analysis fuel the ongoing life of this scandal. The confession has created an interactive narrative where every interpretation matters, and the consequences ripple far beyond the screen. The saga remains alive, vibrant, and unresolved, with new developments waiting just around the corner. And now, after everything you've seen, after every leaked conversation, every emotional confession, and every twist that left fans shocked, it's time to pause and consider what this all means. Kirk's confession didn't just expose secrets, it exposed the system, the manipulation, and the blurred lines between reality and performance. You've watched, you've judged, and you've speculated, but now the conversation is in your hands. What do you believe happened behind closed doors? Was Kirk truly remorseful, or was this another calculated move to regain sympathy? Is Rashida the ultimate strategist, quietly reclaiming her narrative, or has she simply stepped back to let the storm pass? And where does Jasmine fit in, silent observer, hidden player, or someone preparing to unleash her own revelations? The questions are endless, and that's exactly why the story continues to captivate millions. Fans all over the world are debating every detail. Social media is flooded with clips, commentary, and reaction videos analyzing every inflection in Kirk's voice, every hesitancy in his words, and every calculated pause. Hashtags trend daily. Discussion threads are updated hourly. And no matter where you look, the confession remains the center of the storm. The public is hungry for clarity, yet the ambiguity keeps the drama alive. What you've seen so far is only the tip of the iceberg. And your perspective matters because the story lives in the conversation. By commenting, sharing, and engaging, you become part of the unfolding narrative. So here's what you need to do. First, like this video if Kirk's confession shocked you, if Rashida's quiet resilience impressed you, or if Jasmine's looming presence had you on edge. Your engagement is what keeps stories like this alive and ensures that the voices behind the drama aren't forgotten. Each like signals that you care, that you're invested, and that you're ready for the next twist in this saga. Next, hit subscribe. This isn't just another celebrity story. This is an ongoing saga of confession, consequence, and truth. Subscribing ensures you'll be the first to know when new revelations surface, when insiders leak unseen clips, or when fan theories are confirmed or debunked. Every subscriber strengthens the community following this story and keeps the conversation alive across platforms. The confession may have started with Kirk, but it's sustained by viewers like you. Turn on notifications. This is crucial. The next big revelation could happen at any moment. Insiders hint at more leaks, more hidden conversations, and possibly Jasmine stepping forward to release her own evidence. Notifications ensure you won't miss a single beat of the unfolding drama. Imagine being the first to witness the next confession, the next behind-the-scenes truth, or the next shocking interaction. In the world of reality TV, timing is everything, and being in the know gives you a front-row seat to history in the making. Engage in the comments. Share your theories, your suspicions, and your interpretations of every word Kirk said. Did his confession feel genuine to you, or did it reek of performance? Do you think Rashida will ever publicly respond, or is her silence the ultimate power move? What do you imagine Jasmine's next step will be? Your insights are valuable and contribute to the ongoing narrative, turning speculation into a living conversation that stretches far beyond this video. Share this story with friends. Every conversation, every forwarded clip, and every discussion adds momentum. The confession has already proven that truth spreads like wildfire, and your sharing ensures that more people witness the drama, debate the implications, and become part of the community dissecting every revelation. The story doesn't live in isolation, it thrives in discussion, in speculation, and in collective fascination. Remember, this isn't just entertainment, it's a lesson in transparency, consequence, and human complexity. Kirk's words remind us that honesty has power, that confession carries weight, and that public exposure has lasting effects. Every reaction you have, every comment you leave, and every opinion you share amplifies the narrative and ensures that the lessons of this confession reach far beyond a single screen. Stay tuned. The world of reality TV is unpredictable, and what you've witnessed so far is only the beginning. Leaks continue to emerge, insiders continue to talk, and the possibility of new revelations is constant. By subscribing, liking, and commenting, you guarantee that you're part of this ongoing story, witnessing every nuance, every twist, and every emotional beat as it unfolds. The next chapter could change everything again, and you'll want to be here when it does. Finally, don't forget to reflect. Think about the emotions, the human stakes, and the cultural impact of Kirk's confession. Consider how it reshapes your understanding of reality television, manipulation, and personal accountability. This isn't just gossip, it's a real, unfolding story with consequences for everyone involved. From the stars themselves to fans like you who engage, speculate, and analyze every word. Your attention and involvement make the story live on. So take action now. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Engage with the discussion. Stay alert for the next revelation. Be part of a story that continues to evolve, shock, and captivate. Kirk's confession changed everything, but the world's response, that's what will define how this saga continues. You are part of the audience that keeps the story alive, and every interaction matters. Thank you for watching. Thank you for engaging. And remember, in the world of reality TV, the truth is never as simple as it seems, and the next confession, the next leak, or the next twist could happen at any moment. Stay tuned, stay curious, and keep watching, because in this story, nothing stays hidden forever, and your voice is part of the drama that continues to unfold.